Welcome back to a movie podcast called Gentlemen Prefer Cinephiles with brand new microphones and mixing board.
Yes.
A gentleman gave us these equipment off the side
very
of the road.
kind donor.
A beautiful man. His name is my father.
Is that his name?
Hi, Dad. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
I love you, Dad. You support me. I love you. I'm just getting a little emotional. I'm just getting a little emotional
Charlie.
over here. I'm just getting really emotional because we're talking about a very special topic to both of our
you're
hearts.
really getting emotional?
What is
Oh
the
my god,
topic?
Charlie, are you actually crying? I'm sorry, did we just stress you out? Is this my fault?
You should have just moved on.
Are you crying?
I really like my dad.
Don't cry. I love you.
I was segueing so well.
But I didn't realize you had wheelchairs.
It's been a very emotional night. So, Erynn, what is the topic for the day?
The topic is... We're talking about what makes a film bad.
Ew.
Is there even such a thing as a bad film?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna guess there.
Erin's got quite a few on her mind.
I am of the opinion that there is such a thing.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that something isn't bad.
So, before we go into specific examples that we really want to delve into...
Dig deep.
Dig deep. What do you think makes a film bad, Charlie?
Well, I'll tell you what, Erynn.
What are some red flags?
I'll tell you what, Erynn. My number one reason movies are bad is when they're boring. Boring.
You like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
That ain't boring to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Things that are boring to me are like the later Transformers movies.
Those other books are boring to me.
They just tire me out. They're just boring. Annabelle Creation is boring.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's just nothing happens, nothing interesting happens. Just a bunch of stuff and it's boring.
I think that tonal inconsistencies make a film bad. I'd like to quickly bring up Atomic Blonde.
Ooh.
It's like silly spy thriller, and then on a dime it'll randomly go to a super gritty action film, and it's really off-putting as a viewer to watch.
Hot takes.
It makes the whole experience very lackluster, which is really sad because I wanted Atomic Blonde to be great.
Speaking of movies that some people find boring but I don't, they just throw Stalker by Tarkovsky into the movie theater she's hiding out in from these goons.
Yeah.
They just throw that in there. She stabs a guy through the cheek with a key while Stalker is playing in the background. I'm like, you don't have any right to just throw that into your spy movie.
Well, and there was a bunch of references to Quentin Tarantino's films, like direct references, like Kill Bill, I guess like watered down 70s film references, but whatever.
It feels more like they just took the same music cues and used them.
No, the film opens with Gasoline, which just made me think of how much better I liked Inglourious Bastards, and I don't think that's why they put that in. Then they had the like fight sequence from Kill Bill with her and Pai Mei. Is it Pai Mei? With her and Pai Mei, where it's all black, and then they're fighting, or they're training together. They're only shadows. You look at me with such a blank face. She's fighting the 88, the crazy 88, and
with like the blue background.
Yeah, and it's just they're black shadows fighting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they also took that from Tarantino, and it was really weird. And then it cuts between silly things like that to like she's getting beat up to such a degree, like a gritty, terrible degree that it's just really weird.
Yeah.
So tone is really one of my red flags of a bad film. 'Cause it's kind of like pick a film you want to make. Decide this.
Some movies do a good job of balancing the tone out, so then when it does change tones, it makes sense. Mm-hmm. But when movies do it out of the blue, you're just kind of like, what's going on?
You're like, Raggy?
Home Improvement?
Do you have any other ones, really?
Any other...
What else do you think makes a movie bad? Is boring pretty much the main?
Well, I'll tell you what. When it feels like there's not enough effort being put in
Okay.
to make it a well-rounded movie, and it feels like people are just punching in the clock because that's what most people are doing, because it's, a big business, so you gotta, it's all just a big thing. So, sometimes when it feels like nobody's really putting forth the effort to try to make the best film possible, which isn't always true, but that's usually something that makes a movie like the lowest on my list, is when it feels like there's not enough.
I see that a lot in Illuminations films, especially Sing. They operate at such a low cost model that doesn't allow for like anything that, I mean, I complain about this so much on the podcast, I feel, but like watch Sing for 5 minutes. The mouths don't even sync.
It's the same with your bad movie pick, Ratatoing.
Oh yeah.
Which is something that most people probably don't know about unless you watch the I Hate Everything YouTube channel. But if you don't...
Or you could just watch it.
There's this Brazilian...
Wait. You're getting ahead of everyone.
Let's just jump in.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But really quick, I want to go over a couple more red flags first. So, another red flag is taking itself seriously. I loved the visuals in The Neon Demon, but the narrative was awful. And it was commentary on the modeling industry, but it fell into the whole idea that that models are the ones who are like catfighting and making it a bad industry, when that's not even remotely close. It's the industry as a whole that's the issue, not the models. But it took itself real seriously with that. And it just makes you, it turns me off definitely as a viewer. It turns me off.
I will say that there are bad movies that don't take themselves seriously at all.
I guess it's true.
Like Batman and Robin and Master of Disguise.
Yeah.
Those are movies that don't really take themselves seriously, but I'm like, how am I supposed to care?
Well, you can even bring it back to Atomic Blonde, because like I was so confused during it, and it was like, this is the best film ever.
Those words literally came on the screen. It said, this is the best film ever. It was really weird.
It was like, this is such a new take on violence and action in the media. And I was like, no, it's not. It's a mess. So yeah, taking itself seriously. Then feeling, this kind of goes with, I think pacing is a huge marker of a bad film, because I think it's just a sign of bad direction.
Sure.
And I think something that's incorporated into that is filling for time. So now we can transition into Ratatoing, because that is a prime example of filling for time to make
Suicide
it
Squad has
film.
like some of the worst pacing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think pacing less than directing might be more of like an editing issue, which a director should be.
A director's involved.
Yeah, but a lot of times they shut the director out of the editing room.
Well, I think that's the director's fault.
What? No.
You should be around people and editors that are gonna work with you. That's ridiculous.
No, I mean
that's crazy.
I mean the producers like lock them out.
You should be around producers that are gonna do that to you.
Not everybody's got a choice.
Well, it's like that's like Darren Aronofsky. Like I say this so many. I preach this to the choir. As a director, you should fund your own work for that reason.
Yeah, but not everybody can.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm sure certain people can, but I think it's something you should do that will mitigate that issue. But anyway, yeah, Suicide Squad is terrible pacing.
So, Ratatoing.
Oh my god. Can we make this so I can cut that whole thing out?
Yeah.
Can you go into Suicide Squad more?
Oh. Suicide Squad has bad editing, as seen in most videos about the Suicide Squad.
It's pretty terrible. I saw a lot of videos about Suicide Squad. I actually even saw like I don't remember the YouTuber, but it was a super in-depth look at the editing of Suicide Squad. And I mean, everybody pretty much knows it was edited by 2 separate trailer houses that came up with the final cut.
There's a trailer house and then the editor that was originally hired.
We're gonna
Dun, 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 dun. And they pretty much, for like the first 10, 15 minutes of the movie, they just have back-to-back songs to introduce each character. Just pop songs from the 70s.
Which, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but when there's no purpose other than, oh, it's gonna look real sick, like, that's stupid.
Well, when it comes out, like, 2 years after Guardians of the Galaxy, you kind of start to raise an eyebrow when they're doing a similar thing musically.
Well, and also another thing about Suicide Squad that struck me after I'd seen all these editing videos, because I honestly didn't think it was going to be as bad as some people were saying, because, I mean, sometimes, you know, you milk it up a little bit more for the video, you know, like...
Didn't you say when you rented it from Redbox you wanted to see how bad it was so you could learn from it?
Yeah.
How did that go?
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I was actually shocked. Like, some of the shots are 3 frames long for no reason. And then they do this weird wave thing and to transition between Joker scenes. And it's just...
Because he's crazy.
It's so silly. It's so silly.
Not traditional editing, baby.
Oh, yeah, and it's pretty awkward.
Lots of weird acting choices too.
Yeah, but I don't.
That's a movie that it feels like not everybody was on board for. Like, there's like some kind of creative, you know, split going on between the two different people.
I think, well, this goes into the what's making a film bad discussion, and it's a little bit broader than pacing. I think the issue with Suicide Squad is a bit tantamount to the cinematic universe as a whole issue. Mm-hmm. Everybody, like, Suicide Squad is a project where you have so many different actors, so many different people, you know, being introduced. And it felt like none of them, like, even Harley Quinn and Joker, it felt like none of them were going into the same project. They all had a different envisioning of how it was going to go. And I think that's a reflection on the director, personally.
I think it's definitely a it's definitely a spotlight on the studio for giving David Ayer only 2 weeks to write the script before they went into pre-production. They already had an idea and they were like, listen. They just sort of like threw him out there and they're like, go.
I mean, sure, I feel bad for David Ayer, but that doesn't mean he couldn't have done better as a director.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that he's like a great director. I like Fury, but if anything, his recent movies have proved that he doesn't really have a strong grasp on storytelling on a larger scale.
And that's sad, because I mean, I think it's really important. I think the directing world is really important in film. So, sorry, David, if you're out there listening.
If you're one of the 25 people
consider this your wake-up call, David.
David.
Dave. David. You gotta tighten up that directing.
You gotta tighten up that...
You gotta tighten up that hold on on everybody.
You gotta take Margot Robbie by the neck.
Oh my god, don't do that. I farted. I heard it.
That's real cute.
It was pretty awkward.
It's real cute.
So now let's go into Ratatoing. Ratatoing is one of the 3 examples. You see it in if you're watching this on YouTube, it's in the thumbnail.
Speaking of bad pacing, a movie that features one of Erin's least favorite things, eating up time.
Oh yeah, will you do a quick opening will you do a replica of the opening sequence of Ratatoing?
Imagine, if you will. So imagine that there's like a painting of Rio de Janeiro with like crossed arms open, the Christ arms open and like over the city. Imagine that this narrator comes in over these paintings of Rio de Janeiro. This is the city. Everybody loves the city. Everybody seems to like that this city is always sunny. And this is a restaurant in the city. Everyone seems to like to go to this restaurant in the city because this restaurant is owned by Marcel Toing.
Oh, and if you think that's bad, then it cuts to inside this stupid rat restaurant.
Oh. Tell us how you really feel.
Then
Listen, they kick open the door to this BS operation.
This stupid rat restaurant. And then it cuts between, like, I think 2 or 3 different conversations going on. And they all say the exact same things for 12 minutes.
The food here is great. Our compliments to the chef.
This is such a great city with a good restaurant.
Uh-huh.
It's so awkward.
Yeah, that movie's got a... Video Brinquedo, for those uninitiated, is a studio that does feature CGI animated films.
Well, and like barely feature length, because some of their films on the box say that they're feature length, but then they're 20 minutes.
42-minute long feature length films. And they specialize in ripping off DreamWorks and Pixar movies before they come out and put them onto the shelves next to them. And if your grandmother you're like, what did you say, Timmy? You wanted the Little Monsters movie? No, Mom, I wanted Monsters vs. Aliens. The little robots and monsters, is it?
Well, and which I'm sure you're thinking, wow, that's dumb. Who would mistake that? I know somebody whose grandparent purchased them the Little Panda Fighter by Video Brinquedo instead of Kung Fu Panda because they couldn't tell the difference.
You knew someone who had it?
Yes!
You never told me.
It's crazy.
The Little Panda Fighter.
It's terrible. But yeah, the main issue with those films that are like phoning it in is that they don't have any content because they're ripping off not only an idea concept, but a trailer of the concept to get out around the same time that they have to fill for time.
Let's just say it's a combination of your point on pacing and my point on not enough effort being taken.
100%. Yeah, it's a very extreme example of a bad film because it's just terrible. It's terrible technically. It's terrible. Like the sound mixing is bad. The editing is bad. The acting is okay because they're the same people who voice all the Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday morning
Yes, Daddy, I love
people.
cheese.
Yes, Daddy, I love cheddar.
Meh.
And it's not as endearing as Cool Cat.
We always are so careful. So anyway, I want to talk about why the Transformers movies, as they went along, really embody some of the laziest filmmaking imaginable.
Well, I think right off the bat, I think of how Michael Bay reuses footage.
Yes.
I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Basically, Michael Bay, when he films action for the Transformers movies, is they set up like hundreds of different timed explosions with extras around and just set them off one at a time
That's
while they
hilarious.
film them. So they end up doing things like killing extras. That has happened in Transformers movies.
Are you serious?
Crushed by cars. There was one instance where the city they were filming in, I think it was Pittsburgh or something, they launched a car into the air, but they miscalculated, so it went right into the side of a building. That happened. You can see footage of that. It's just
God.
like, you see the corner of the building and you just see the car go like right through past where you can see it anymore and you're like, oh my God.
I was going to make like this shady comment about if like Paul Thomas Anderson used footage from There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread and how weird that would be. But then you're just like, yeah, people have died on the set of Transformers. And I'm like, what?
People have died on the set of everything. Somebody died on the set of the Twilight Zone movie.
Well, and in terms of no effort / taking itself seriously, I think Transformers mixes the two. I think notably about that little girl who is edited into all the trailers.
And then it's also got a tone problem.
Yeah.
Because they're always shifting tones in those movies.
But there was this little girl who was edited into all the trailers, and she's like, I'm gonna fight everybody. I'm a strong woman.
She's like, when you need a tough girl on the team or whatever, like she's
It's
like,
me.
be a tough girl. And then it turns out she's just in like the middle 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Pretty insulting.
Yeah, because one, it's like, oh, we're actually really good and we're taking ourselves super seriously with this whole like female empowerment, but then they actually don't care. So it's just phoned in and bad.
And then you see like behind the scenes of Transformers 2 where Megan Fox is like, why, you want us to wear these? And then Michael Bay says, Yeah, and then I'm gonna slap you in the ass with this towel.
Ew. Gross.
Nah, he's a feminist, sure. This guy over here. What are you talking about?
I mean, it's fine if a woman is making a deliberate decision to be like...
We're talking about a director who's like, I'm gonna slap your
No,
ass.
I know. No, that's the difference, though. Like, it's not that, like, you can be like, oh, you're hot, lady, I'm gonna slap you. Like...
Well, if you're a director and you're like, listen, the themes of the movie are sexual in nature and this and that, and the movie's about it, and it's important for the movie that we portray some of these elements, and the actress is like, yes, I understand, I agree to all of this, then there you go. But when you're some guy like Michael Bay who asks a 17-year-old Megan Fox to audition for you by coming to your house and washing your car in a bikini, I'm sorry.
You're weird.
I guess this is a hot take.
Well, and it's comparable. I think you could see a difference in Quentin Tarantino.
Sure.
Because, all that stuff came out. Like, and a lot of people were like, what? Tarantino was the one who spit at Uma Thurman? Tarantino's the one who chokes out the women on set? Like, I mean, you have that relationship to a director, and he's like, it makes sense because nobody's going to be as comfortable as an actor with a director. Or at least that's the idea.
Yeah, you have to be a good director to pull that off.
Exactly.
Like Steven Spielberg, who's notoriously good with actors, was my point.
Yeah, Steven's okay.
How do you think he got such great performances out of the kid that played Elliot in E.T.?
I can't wait to see Ready Player One.
Okay.
And, he just came out with the BFG.
The Post was all right.
Post was... I get mad about it the more I think about it. Sorry, we're getting off track.
I like movies with color in them, though.
We'll talk about The Post a little bit more in a later episode.
Yeah, because that movie's not a bad movie.
So you also see in the thumbnail, if you're on YouTube, .com/gentleman for cinephiles, that The Room is also in The Counter. Now, I think The Room can be considered bad because of how many technical issues it has. It doesn't feel like Tommy Wiseau understands the rules enough to be able to break them.
Let me bring up...
But, yeah, Charlie has a hole.
Let me bring up my points, cross-checking them against my criteria for a bad movie. Boring. No. The Room is not boring.
It gets pretty boring.
It's incredibly entertaining from start to finish for me.
That party is boring.
No, it's not. It's hilarious. Are you kidding me?
They're all outside.
It's so funny.
Yeah, okay.
You can't even argue. Not boring. It's got lots of effort put into it. You can say that it was deeply misplaced and not well executed effort, but everyone is putting in effort. Even if it's bad, it's effort. And that means it's not bad. 3, nobody cares. I think lots of people really cared, especially the main star and director of that film. It seems like he cared deeply about his project, and that's what makes it endearing and entertaining, and I love it.
Did you close out?
God bless America.
Are you closing your argument right now?
Yeah.
Because you didn't cross-check the tone argument we've been talking about.
Well, that was your point. I did my 3.
You also did some of my points, so,
What? No, please, I did boring.
Okay, so let's talk about my points then. Tone. The Room is pretty bad with tone.
So funny. What are you talking about? It's hilarious.
It's terrible with tone.
I think the movie...
Got the results of the test back, and I definitely have breast cancer.
Yeah, but that's how they deal with literally every situation. That's consistent.
The tone is bad. It's consistently bad.
It's not consistently bad. It's consistently funny.
What do you guys think about the tone of The Room? Let us know below. So next, filling for time.
No.
Have you seen that drug dealer sequence?
No.
You could edit that completely out of the film and it would change nothing.
That movie is a lean machine.
No, it's not like we're 44 minutes and we're a feature, but...
No, that movie's like an hour and a half and it makes it there warmly.
Also, filling for time, let's talk about the reused footage.
So there's plenty of panning shots to establish where they are.
Well, I'm talking about the sex scenes that you reuse footage all the time.
Listen, when you gotta have a sex scene, You might as well use the leftover footage from the last one. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
That's
also
just
the
good
actress
filming.
was uncomfortable, but it's still reusing footage.
Listen,
Because you don't need them.
lots of directors reuse footage, but they do it in a way where you don't realize it.
Yeah, good directors don't.
Yeah, they do.
Name one.
Kubrick.
Name an example.
The Stargate sequence from 2001 reuses shots.
But he's getting separate shots that are similar to shots he got previously. He's not taking shots he got before and just slapping them into the film.
Sometimes.
He's reusing... Give me an example.
Okay. So. Druids.
Druids is not a Kubrick film.
No, but that's a movie
Don't-
that reuses a lot of footage.
I think you should say et tu brute to me.
I will say, however, that The Room does not reuse the same shots. It uses different angles of a different
It pretty
scene.
much uses the same.
No,
I'm pretty sure it uses the same.
no,
shot. I think I see him at her belly button a couple different times.
That's because they got it from all different angles.
Okay, that's fine. But I think The Room is pretty technically bad, and if you're not technically able to tell us,
That doesn't make a movie bad.
I think it does.
No, there's movies that
I
are
think it does.
technically not great that are good movies.
But it's a deliberate choice by the director.
No, it's usually because of budgetary restraints. Like Clerks. Doesn't look great, but I think it's a
Never
good
seen
movie.
Clerks.
I like it.
Plot's cool.
Night of the Living Dead, perhaps?
That's deliberately bad.
It's not deliberately
That's
bad.
deliberately breaking technical things. Technical rules, technical things. It's breaking technical things.
Yeah.
That's a deliberate choice by the director.
I would argue that
It's not like, oh man, I
when
don't
you
know
have no
how
other
to.
choices, that doesn't make it deliberate.
That's not like, oh man, I don't know how to edit shot, reverse shot. So I'm just gonna edit it how I think it, and then it's terrible.
I mean, Fear and Desire isn't technically great, but that's movie's
I
not
did not
bad.
think it was good.
It's not bad.
I thought it was pretty bad.
It's not bad.
I thought it was bad.
No. No.
You guys can't see it, but Charlie just like thrusted his chest at me.
No.
So,
Obviously, The Room's not actually a bad movie. It's great.
do you guys think The Room is a bad movie? Comment below. Let us know. I would like to know your thoughts.
I want to challenge our notions of...
If everyone agrees that it's a great movie, I will
Eat your hat?
I will go get Greg Sestero to sign a copy of my book of The Disaster Artist and tell him, I'm so sorry, Greg.
My dad already got The Disaster Artist signed by Greg Sestero.
I'm just saying what I'm going to do if I lose this whole The Room is a bad movie argument.
Dad, can we have your copy of The Disaster
Oh
Artist
my
as a
goodness.
guest? As a guest on the show?
We just have this book sitting there.
And our guest, Greg Sestero's autograph.
So tell us about your time shooting The Room.
Very cool.
That's super interesting.
So the next film on the list, and our final film to talk about as far as bad movies go, is the Emoji Movie. You want to take this one?
Well, I think it's just pretty terrible.
That's
In a lot of
pretty
ways.
concise, Erynn. Thank you for joining us. That's,
Well, I mean, it's very formulaic, which is the issue. I think the plot is the main issue. I think, technically speaking, the animation is very beautiful. The animators had a lot of really good visual gags that I giggled at.
let me just bring this up. Sometimes movies don't look good, but they're good movies, and sometimes movies are bad even though they look okay.
So, Charlie, if you could get off your Tumblr quote. So I mean, in certain areas, the Emoji Movie is relatively okay, but the
Technically
plot,
proficient.
the pacing of it, the tone, like the visuals
The
can't
effort.
save a narrative mess. You know?
Yes.
The story is terrible and doesn't make any sense.
You're right.
The only story thread I kind of liked was his parents.
And they're just kind of...
But they're just in it for like...
That's just an excuse for, what's-her-name and Stephen Wright to be voices.
Yeah, that's true.
That woman from American Pie and the Cinderella Story.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating because, I mean, when we talk about Ratatoing, we talk about how that's a ripoff of Ratatouille. Well, if you really want to get down to the nitty-gritty Emoji Movie, I saw the Lego Movie once or twice in my life, and it's pretty much the same thing. Like, down to the female character's hair.
Well, you're not wrong.
It's the same.
You could really hear that wind back there. It's spooky. I'm really spooked by wind, by the way. Yeah, the Emoji Movie, it's boring. It doesn't feel like that any of the writers or directors had any effort for it. All the animators, I just picture them sitting in their cubicles, going one frame at a time, trying to make it look appealing, and you just can't fix a movie that's just a completely bankrupt idea from the beginning. It's not like somebody was like, here's my story I have to tell, and it has to be emojis. Instead, it was like, hey, the Lego Movie did well, let's make an Emoji Movie.
Well, and then with tone, you go from like a silly we're like Candy Crush sequence where they're playing Candy Crush, and it's like, haha, we're so silly, we're playing Candy Crush. James Corbin's here and making jokes, and he's a hand. And then
he's a hand with a face and abs.
And then all of a sudden they have this like dream sequence gag that's like Gene exploding all over and his guts going everywhere, and I'm like, what? And that's in the span of like 5 minutes of time. That's a tone issue. That's a problem.
Yeah. I didn't like any of the product placement either.
Well, then it also felt like it was filling for time because it has... How many plot threads does it have? It has the normal
like
one. Yeah, it has like 4 different plot threads. Like 2 of which don't really need to be there.
None of them really connect.
Yeah. None of them really cross over strongly.
Yeah.
Like, as much as I loved Gene's parents having their own sequences, like, it wasn't really necessary for them to have a whole fourth of the film devoted to them.
Yeah.
And then this weird, like, high five, I'm like, get out.
High five.
Get out of here.
I spilled spot remover on my dog, and now he's gone.
Was that a joke in it?
No, that's just a Stephen Wright joke.
Okay, no, it's like, that's a terrible joke.
No, it's
and
so
I love
funny.
Stephen Wright.
No, it's so funny. I love Stephen Wright.
But yeah.
Stephen, baby, if you're one of the 24, let me tell you, you're my favorite comedian. Don't tell the others. Louis C.K. can't really compete anymore. He's not a part of this. He has to stay away.
So I think Ratatoing the Room and the Emoji Movie are kind of like a culmination of all of these separate ways films can be bad.
Except for The Room.
We're not sure about The Room yet.
The jury's still out.
The jury's still out. We'll have to...
Your Honor, my defendant was not given enough time to prepare his case.
We just turned this into I Confess.
Will you speak? I didn't do nothing.
Oh, gosh. So
Man.
go ahead and take us out, Charlie.
God, I love you so much.
What do you guys think makes a film bad, huh?
Is it that one time that you stepped in gum on the way to the theater? That movie was terrible.
And do you love films that are bad? I love Showgirls.
That's not a bad movie.
It's a little bad.
It's not.
The acting is pretty bad.
Let me tell you a little story about my boy Paul Verhoeven. This boy, he came from Denmark, and he came into this industry hot. It was the 80s, he was gay, and he was like, I'm gonna make every movie I make a satire. And that includes Showgirls, and it's a great satire. People just don't get it. I'm gonna say that unironically. Furthermore, I hope everyone has a great weekend. And on top of all that, go watch some bad movies you like, huh?
Oh
Have
my
a
gosh.
good time.
Watch Showgirls.
Watch Showgirls. Eat some popcorn.
Don't watch Showgirls with your parents. It'd be weird.
Or do.
I would never watch Showgirls with my parents. I love you, Mom and Dad. I've never watched Showgirls.
The things that I watched with my dad. Let me tell you.
What did you tell me?
Okay, let's see. What was a
What
weird
bad
one?
films did you watch with your dad?
Well, bad films. I don't know. I just mean like explicit. Sometimes it's awkward.
Have you seen The Piano Teacher?
No. No.
Don't watch that with your dad.
I'll watch funny games
With your parents.
them. Wink.
But, so you guys can find us at the usual places. Facebook.com, Gentlemen Prefer Cinephiles.
Instagram.com/Gentlemen Prefer Cinephiles.
I almost said the same exact thing.
YouTube.com/Gentlemen Prefer Cinephiles.
And hopefully we'll be on iTunes.
And also our home address, which is 135-456-789-4321, The Matrix.
Yep.
God, Erynn, I love you so much.
Oh my god, you're so cute. Okay, you gotta close this out, Charlie.
Bye. Movies.